Welcome everybody, my name is Michael or Kubera, and today let's chat about inflation. So obviously if you're interested in cryptocurrency and especially Bitcoin, the inflation-proof aspect of this speculative investment is one of the first reasons you're interested in this. And then the privacy security aspect, the community, maybe that got you to stay and you're super passionate about blockchain now. Whatever the reason, whether you just want to make a quick buck or you want to hedge against inflation, it is a very important topic to discuss, and a lot of people in America are simply not well equipped with the knowledge to understand their budget, their income, their taxes, what is inflation, how inflation works, and thinking into the future, how it will affect what they're already earning and saving. A lot of people just aren't financially literate, and this is a big problem, and it will continue to be something that keeps the poor with this limited mindset. So today we will be discussing about what $1 million really is worth and why so many people who think, oh, I can retire with $1 million are dead wrong. And this problem will only get worse. As we saw with last year's case, this isn't going away anytime soon. Welcome to the new normal. Let's get into it. Let's roll the intro. So first and foremost, let's discuss about that timeless question, can you retire with $1 million? A lot of charts may have been shown to you in your lifetime, but this may probably be one of the most important that you'll ever see. You've probably seen this many times before, and it's absolutely shocking when you look back at how much a single dollar was valued back then. There's this debate that the boomers, the older generations, had it a little bit easier. And in a way, that's true, because right now we see headlines like Congressional Budget Office predicts U.S. debt levels will surpass 100% in GDP in 2021, that's this year, and by 2050 reach 200% of our GDP. We're at 16% of the GDP, and we're breaking more and more records. These are not great accomplishments to be proud of. I'm going to have some links down in the description below. By the way, if you still haven't subscribed to my new channel, check it on out, but this is a nightmare to look at. It's called usdebtclock.org, and currently, as of making this video, we are at $27 trillion, 798 billion, 17 million, and approaching steadfast. There we go. 600,000 has been broken, 700,000 has been broken, 800,000. It's rising so quickly. Boom. Now it's just transformed into 18 million, approaching 19 million. So as we see, 28 trillion is around the corner, and then beyond that, 30, 40, 50 trillion dollars. The debt per citizen is 83,996, but the debt per taxpayer, because obviously we have the retired and children, where it's $222,191 per taxpayer. And the U.S. federal budget deficit, the official one, is at $3.195 trillion. 3.2 trillion, and that's the official one, but the actual U.S. federal budget deficit, $4,425,457,600,000, and it's growing every single day. So let's discuss. In terms of deficit, at 16%, this was back in 2020, 16% of the GDP, gross domestic product, the deficit in 2020 would be the largest since 1945. The deficit in 2021 is projected to be 8.6% of the GDP. Between 1946 and 2019, the deficit as a share of GDP has been larger than that only twice. In CBO's projections, annual deficits relative to the size of the economy generally continue to decline through 2027, before increasing again in the last few years of the projection period, reaching 5.3% of the GDP in 2030. They exceed their 50-year average of 3% in each year through 2030. In terms of debt, as a result of those deficits, federal debt held by the public is projected to rise sharply to 98% of the GDP in 2020, compared with 79% at the end of 2019 and 35% in 2007, before the start of the previous recession. It would exceed 100% in 2021 and increase to 107% in 2023, the highest in the nation's history. The previous peak occurred in 1946, following the large deficits incurred during World War II. By 2030, debt would equal 109% of the GDP. In terms of U.S. federal debt, it's not the entire national debt, but in terms of federal spending and the federal budget deficit and total federal debt to GDP ratio, in 1960 we had 53.36%, in 1980 34.49%, in 2059 129.56%, and now we're at 130.59%. So absolutely crazy numbers that are only getting worse. Last year, we had over 40 million people temporarily unemployed. Currently, it's around 10 and 11 million people who are unemployed. But this is a misleading statement because that is officially unemployed. That means that millions of Americans aren't falling into that statistic because they have part-time work that technically is paying them. But due to these lockdowns, due to what has been happening over the past year, they're getting paid less. Certain employers simply aren't paying out. Certain states have limits that if you don't qualify for unemployment, you just simply won't be counted in that statistic. You also won't receive any unemployment benefits, even though maybe you weren't paid for the past 2 months and now you're behind on rent and pretty soon you're close to homelessness. We're not even going to be discussing about how the average American does not have more than a few $100s saved up and is using their credit cards to survive throughout this time. That's why we've had another $1.9 trillion stimulus package that's coming our way this year. Last year, we had trillions of dollars. The average American is super happy about this. Woohoo, I'm getting money. But they don't realize that they're going to pay for this. It's not free money. Nothing is given to you for free in this world. It will come out of your taxes. It will come out of your money in terms of inflation, eating it up slowly and steadily. And a lot of people don't understand this. So let me give you the simple way to look at this. $1 million isn't a lot of money anymore. It used to be a lot of money, but now it's not. And every single year it's getting worse. Some people say that $1 million is life-changing. If you live in Poland, sure, $1 million is life-changing. If you live in a low cost of living area, you're earning well, or you have a very large nest egg, $1 million or over, you're living a minimalistic lifestyle, you can retire. But if you're living like most of America in middle class or high cost of living areas, or even very high cost of living areas like New York City, San Francisco, Seattle, Los Angeles, a few other cities that are constantly in the news. The homeless population is rising. The taxes are being increased. People are trying to move out of these cities. They don't want to deal with this stuff anymore. Even where I'm from, Chicago, high property taxes, high state taxes, certain incomes aren't rising at the rate that they should be. And people are still stuck in this fallacy that they believe once I get to $1 million, I can retire. How to Marry a Millionaire came out in 1953. 1953, inflation, USD, to have $1 million in 1953 in today's value in 2021, where $100 is worth $975.56. That's almost $10 million. And that will surpass $10 million very soon. The average inflation rate from 1953 to 2021 was 3.41%. The cumulative price change has been 875.56%. Inflation in 2021 is projected to be 1.36%. However, people do believe that it actually is higher, around 3%, 4% sometimes even. It's a debate for another time because it's quite complicated, but the inflation in 1953 was around 0.75%. In simple words, a dollar today only buys 10.25% of what it could buy back then. Also, job security was completely different back then. You hear of all these stories of your boomer grandparents and family members getting these jobs at a large corporation. They've worked there for 40 years. They've gotten great benefits. Now, if you're older than 30 years old in certain industries such as tech, you might have trouble finding a job. The times are changing. You're going to get kicked out. Businesses just don't simply care anymore. Interestingly, we have to explore what is the top 1%, because $1 million over time, given enough years pass by, it will become eventually worthless. We've seen periods of hyperinflation in certain nations like Venezuela, where people have been turning to Bitcoin to try and salvage whatever they can because they had to haul bucket loads of fiat currency to pay for their chicken or a sandwich. People are surviving there on dollars per month, if that even sometimes. As of last year, obviously it's going to change from year to year, $531,020 for the annual income is the cutoff for the top 1% of household earners. For a single earner, the cutoff is $361,020. Compare that to the income of the top 10% and the top 1%. Individual income for the 10% is $125,105, which still classifies towards the very beginning of upper middle class. For the 1%, compare $125,105 to $361,020. The 1% of $531,020 to the household income of the 10 percenters, $200,968. Now, of course, the middle class earners have to pay hefty taxes. See, when you're earning millions of dollars per year, you're able to get away with tax loopholes. You're also able to hire better individuals, such as a financial advisor, a tax CPA, a broker for your investments. All of this will cost you money, of course, but if you're making a large enough income and you're making a large enough capital gains or profit from all of these advisors, paying them simply won't be a problem. And you're able to lower your taxes overall if you know what you're doing. Now, of course, this differs than the top 1% for net worth. Net worth also features in your real estate, any holdings that you have, any shares from companies that you might be a participant of, any investments basically. And the top 1% of household net worth starts at $11,099,166. This means that since the previous $1 million in 1953 example is now worth in 2021 almost $10 million, they're very close to each other. That $1 million back then when that book was written, we're still a lot of these senior citizens now, those who are retiring past 65 years old, 70, 80 years old, they think, wow, $1 million right now, they're happy with that. But if they were born the generation before them, they'd be able to buy 10 times what they could right now. Just think about the difference between a house that's worth $1 million and a house that's worth $11 million. Where for that, you could buy multiple homes that you could turn into townhomes and have multiple families inside of one another. The top 2% of households have $6.5 million. The top 10% in terms of net worth have $1.2 million. And the 0.1% have over $43.2 million. Of course, we've always known that there is wealth disparity in America, but that happens in many countries around this world. There's no use fighting this when you're not trying to change your own situation. If there is an opportunity presented to you to upgrade your income, to upgrade your lifestyle and your savings habits and your investments and get educated, take it when you can and don't let go of that opportunity. Always, always be prepared, be hungry for more, strive for excellence. A lot of people think that $1 million is close to the top 1%, and then sometimes in their heads they see Kylie Jenner, they see stuff that's on Instagram, private jets, Lamborghinis, and they forget that the real difference is private jets are for billionaires and multi-millionaires that have already retired. Some of the richest in crypto could definitely afford this lifestyle. You could, of course, rent out a yacht, but even that would cost you a few $100,000. You could rent out a private jet. If you flew with a whole family, maybe it would cost you a few $1,000s per seat. But the true cost of a private jet might be even higher than the top 1% could ever afford. You see, based off of Honeywell Aerospace's report, last year they looked at the real cost of owning an airplane. Most business jet prices range from $3 million to $90 million, and 85% of business jet owners buy secondhand aircraft. So let's explore buying a new aircraft and a used aircraft and realize that $1 million is not even close. You would be paying for the fuel. Absolutely insane to think about. We have maintenance and operating costs, insurances, hangar fees, upgrades. If you're buying a used jet airplane, there might be some things that have to undergo maintenance. Or if you're rich, if you're nouveau riche, you want to have that gold toilet, it's going to cost you. So the average purchase price of a used aircraft is between 14 and 35 million. And for the new, it's between 38 and 43 million. For maintenance, since you're buying used, the total cost of ownership per year might cost you $4 million for 423 hours of usage time. In terms of insurance for single limit liability, the used aircraft would cost you $34,520, and let's say for hull insurance for the new aircraft, also $34,520. For hangar fees, the used aircraft might be smaller in size and might cost you $81,000 per year. The newer aircraft, well, it's problematic. It might go up to as high as $160,000 per year. Then there's upgrades, which might cost you a few $1 million on average, and we're not even talking about fuel yet, but the annual total without fuel, which is a huge cost for used, might come out to $33,243,520, and for new aircraft to $49,322,520. If you gathered around an entire neighborhood of millionaires between $1 and $2 million residing around a cul-de-sac, they would not be able to afford ownership of this aircraft for 1 year. So now we're talking about fantasies for most people, the American dream. What's the American dream? The white picket fence, suburban lifestyle, and you think that's okay, I don't need $1 million. This will depend on which state you're living in, but in terms of Q3 2020, the average sale price of houses sold in the United States is $387,000. In addition to that, you're going to have to pay property taxes, where, for example, in my neighborhood alone, some of these houses that are middle class, with middle class prices, you're spending anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000 per year in property taxes alone. Add in an additional 8% to everything you purchase with sales tax, and then your own income taxes and healthcare costs and fees and gas, and you realize, holy moly, you got to be making $100,000 plus just to live there. And of course, you're probably going to be using your credit cards a lot and private loans. So I looked up something that interested me. For Illinois, every single school teacher, a public school teacher, will have their salaries listed. And I looked at my particular school where I attended 2 schools. The first school that I attended back in 2016, since they're from 2 different districts, the average district teacher salary in 2016 for the first district was $100,704. 2017, it actually fell to $100,581. 2018, $102,000. 2019, $106.3 thousand, and in 2020, $110.8 thousand. Now, of course, my district is a little bit higher than the average for the entire state. Obviously, that's going to depend on whether you're close to a big city. Obviously, Illinois has Chicago, and we have the suburbs in the North Shore, and then there's the farmers down south. So there's a lot of variables, but for the statewide district teacher salaries average, it's $63,450 in 2016, and it increased to the state average of $68,083. Now, of course, there's people earning well below that and people earning well above that. So I checked specifically for gym teachers from my first school and from my second school, 2 teachers that I remembered. And one of these teachers, obviously, because of tenure and how long you're staying at the school, if you had a lot of duties, if you're well respected, well liked, you might stay at the school for 30, 40 years, right? So both of my gym teachers made over $100,000 in a single year, plus benefits. My first teacher, $102,442. That was for 2018. So since we discussed about that pay increase from 2018 specifically to 2020, it went from $102,000 to $110,000. We can assume that maybe this individual didn't go up with the district's average, but it still went up a little bit to fight inflation. Meaning he might be making $105,000 or even more, plus these 403B benefits, which are pretty juicy. If someone's investing their maximum of $5,500 into their Roth IRA and up to a maximum of, I believe it was $18,000 or $19,000 into their 403B, which is very similar to their 401k, except this is for the public government sector and educational jobs. There's some limits with the 403B, but it's still very nice if you make good use of it. Some employers may match your 403B or 401k, meaning you get double the money. From my second school, one of my gym teachers earned $143,000 plus benefits. $143,000, and the superintendent, the district superintendent, earned $290,672 in 2018. So for 2021, he might be well over $300,000. That's like $25,000, $26,000, $27,000 per month, depending on where he's at right now. Absolutely insane to think about. I was reading about a fire chief yesterday from the UK that was earning over $144,000. These are public sector jobs, and of course, there are managers, there are people towards the higher levels, such as this district superintendent. If you're managing a district, if you're managing a county, if you're a politician, all of these jobs may very well make you hundreds of thousands of dollars per year, even maybe over $1 million per year. And then you have compensation such as stocks and benefits to discuss. But with inflation, we see that these salaries are going up. 20 years ago, it was unheard of for gym teachers to be earning over $100,000. And of course, this is skewed because my district earns well above the average of the state. But this is nothing compared to New York City or Los Angeles, where that's even crazier. If you earn $60,000 to $80,000 there and you're not smart about your money, meaning you live with roommates, you're going broke. You are close to homelessness. Welcome to America. Welcome to inflation. Right now, you might be a teenager or young adult watching this and you're thinking, my goal to retire is $1 million. Change that goal to 20 million. Let me tell you why. If it takes you 30 or 40 years to retire, realize that $1 million that you're thinking of in your head right now won't be worth that anymore. It used to be worth a lot more back then, even 20 years ago. But every single year it's going to get worse. What if there's another recession? That means 30, 40, 50 years from now, when you're retiring, there might be gym teachers earning $200,000 per year. The price of milk, the price of bread, the price of gas, the price of everything will go up in terms of dollar amounts. And people just don't want to play this game anymore, where they're trying to realize, how much money do I actually need to retire if we factor in inflation? Realistically, $20 million might sound absolutely crazy to the average individual, but $5 million by 2060 or 2070, if you factor in inflation, you realize what kind of a house you're able to purchase in Los Angeles. So after this video, you might understand why people are buying into Bitcoin. The dollar index, which tracks the greenback's value against major currencies, is seen near 91 at press time, a level last seen in April 2018. The dollar peaked near 103 in March, where we remember March was the Black Swan event, where suddenly the lockdowns began, the virus came, stocks plummeted, crypto plummeted, everything plummeted. Certain companies didn't recover, 40 million plus unemployed. Absolutely crazy time. The money supply boosting policies adopted by the Federal Reserve to counter the virus-induced slowdown have done much to fuel the rise in inflation expectations, as well as devaluation or debasement of the dollar. The U.S. 10-year break-even inflation rate, which represents how the market foresees long-term inflation rate, rose to 1.85%. This was last month in December. That's the highest level since May 2019. The metric bottomed out at 0.5% in March, according to the St. Louis Federal Reserve Bank. To get more data, you're able to type in just Fred 10-year break-even inflation rate, and you should get the site. Actually, I'm going to have the links down in the description below. There's a lot more I could discuss about this topic, but I'm pretty sure you'd be bored. This video is already long enough as it is. So I thank you for watching this video. If you want to support the channel, hit that subscribe button. Check out my secondary channel. Leave a like, comment, and we shall see you guys in the next video. Since this video is longer, I guess we're just going to do one post tomorrow. We've been trying out 2 posts per day, but I'm not sure if we're still ready for that just yet. Thanks for watching. See ya. Keep in mind inflation. A lot of people don't understand. It's biting you through your money. Never leave your money underneath a mattress. Bitcoin is your hedge against inflation. Invest your money. Bye.